Welcome to From the Ashes, the Dungeon Crawler Network podcast all about Ashes of Creation by Intrepid Studios. Bear witness to the rebirth of the MMORPG genre from the ashes of an industry that has left the gamers behind. I am Aggelos, founder of the Dungeon Crawler Network, and we are coming to you live from the Mighty Beard Tavern, and I am joined by my amazing co-host you see here. First off, we've got my co-GM over at Hands of Fate, Storm's Lord himself. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing awesome this week. Doing awesome.
Good. I'm glad to have you back. It's been a long week. We also got Alpha Soul, he who almost didn't make it to the show.
Yep. Almost completely forgot that we had this show when I was going to get Red Dead Redemption 2. So as soon as this is over, I'm going to run over there. But great to be here.
Nice. And we also have a new face, a guest we got, the unapologetic Canadian himself, Crowchat.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Very good.
And a little bit of a backstory on this one. I'm going to tell everyone, even though he probably doesn't want me to. I was watching his stream today, and being the Canadian he is himself, is like, killed some guy in Sea of Thieves, and like, oh, we gotta return the chest to him. We gotta be nice Canadians. That was his whole speech. It was great until they returned the chest, and then he grabbed a thing of gunpowder and blew everyone up.
Not only that, I dropped 2 pieces of gunpowder on our own ship, blew up both ships, and then I called it
It was insanely funny to watch. So, Crowjack, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone who you are, what you kind of do, and what you're doing in the Ashes of Creation community.
I will make this super quick because I just want to talk about the game so badly. I've been a content creator on YouTube for 3 years, married, brand new father, 6-month-old daughter, creative entrepreneur. Doing this content creation is my passion, is my life. And then all of a sudden, somebody sends me a DM and goes, yo, check out this game. It's in Kickstarter. It closes in 2 days. So my brain goes, oh, 2 days. I better check this out because usually I skip those things. Check it out. Turns out it's Ashes of Creation, this crazy ambitious project. And I watched a couple videos and bam. Hook, line, and sinker. And now here I am on this lovely podcast with these fine gentlemen beside me in this beautiful tavern, which I have to say is very, very comfortable. And I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and just, you would think it'd be more active, though, and maybe the waitress would come and bring us a beer.
I have been banging this table for the past half hour looking for a drink, but no one wants to serve us. It's rude.
We must
I've been
smell
looking for
funny.
a sandal, too. Yeah.
You need to put a sandal in this tavern somewhere. Can you, put it in a spot and then change the spot every podcast?
Keep it moving.
I can do that. I'm sitting here looking at it. We could put it up on the little shelf above the fireplace, and then in the back bar. I should do that.
That'd be so good.
It's like a Where's Waldo, who can spot the sandal.
Where is the sandal?
That has to be a new bit. The Where's Waldo of who can spot the sandal. So I'm gonna have to start adding that to the show.
That'd be great.
That's awesome. I love that. And hello, awesome chat room. We have all of you guys out there. Thank you so much for coming out live over at twitch.tv/Dungeon Crawler Network and joining us for the show tonight. We have a fun show planned because we are going to be talking development timelines. No, seriously, it's not as boring as it sounds. We're actually going to have a lot of fun with this. We are going to be talking about Alpha 1, not 0. We talked about Alpha 0 few episodes ago, and then also in the pre-show, and for some odd reason I have Alpha 0 in the mind, but we're going to talk about where they currently are with their Alpha 1 testing and where we're seeing them go with the Ashes of Creation roadmap, and if we think there's going to be any problems, or maybe they'll just zoom right through, and that's kind of what we're hoping for. That's what I think we're all hoping for at this point, because sooner the game's out, the better, right? Saying.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. Well, before we get into the show, I also got to give a special shout out to all of our patron supporters over at patreon.com/Dungeon Crawler Network. They keep those candles lit in our tavern. The beer's coming, even though the waitress isn't here. I don't know. Maybe
self-serve.
Does she have a name?
I don't know. Maybe.
Name her right now. Do it.
Rosie.
Rosie.
Done.
Okay.
Done.
Rosie. But see, now I'm thinking about Rosie and the Golden Dragon from The Lord of the Rings. So she's a hobbit, right? A hobbit.
That's why the stools look so short.
Not the
Yeah.
Rosie I'm seeing.
We're why we're kind of hunched over a little bit because we're in a Hobbit tavern. So, Lady Rosie the Fifth. Okay, Hypercore Ripper. There you go. Check him out
The
as well.
Hypercore Ripper.
The Hypercore Ripper. Yeah, I heard his cat calls over the stream today. It was pretty entertaining. Yes, indeed, it was entertaining to say the least. But yes, the awesome people over at Patreon that help us out, Johan, McCallis, and Brian B, as well as Spectral Spire, our executive producer here. Thank you so much, guys. That really does help us out, help us continue to deliver you guys the shows each and every week, except for next week. You see what I did there? Yeah.
We're going to help on that one.
Yeah, we're not going to be doing a show next week because one of the crew is going to be in London. That's this guy.
Crew.
One of the crew. Yeah.
This guy.
Not this one of the crew.
I wasn't going to name names.
Ag.
Yes, I will be in London. One of my co-hosts of the Tales of Tamriel show is being kind enough to sponsor me there, and we're going to go to the Bethesda Game Studios orchestral concert that they're having over there, as well as getting to meet some of the developers from the Bethesda European studios and maybe some more. I'm pretty excited about that. I'm really excited about that. So I couldn't do any work today. Yeah. Never been to London before, so I'm really excited. So no show next week.
Yeah.
But we will be back the following week. All right, guys. All the announcements are done. Let's go ahead and jump right on into the show, talking about Alpha 1. All right. So I know they've been doing a lot of spot tests recently this week. Crowchat, did you get into any? I know Alpha did. The one today.
Did I get any what?
Into any of the Alpha tests like this week, because they were doing a few spot tests.
I did not get into anyone's this week. I've been very busy. The last one I did was on the weekend when they had the entire weekend long. And we were hopefully promised another weekend block of testing, but we're on Thursday, and we still haven't had much of an announcement in that regard yet. So we're kind of waiting.
Yeah.
They haven't really been doing a lot of announcements, though. Like,
they've been last minute.
They've been very last minute. It's one of those things where it's like, boom. Guys, we need, like today's was what? Alpha. What time did that come in at?
Today's came in. I mean, they've been sending them across at like randomly. I mean, I'm on the Eastern Coast, so I get it at like 6:30 or something like that, where they're like, "Surprise, we're doing a test," and then you have to download the whole thing. You get into it for I think they have usually like 2 or 3 matches, something like that, and then done. So if you don't get in within like that window for these particular tests, then you kind of miss it.
Bad Lad Jr. in with the sub for 6 months in a row. Much love, buddy. Much love. Yeah, I haven't gotten to any of the 100-man tests yet. Who's done one of the 100-man tests?
I've done one.
This guy right here. I've done multiple.
How'd it go?
Yeah.
Really well. Okay, so let me try to go back. So I was in one of the first 100 tests that they tried to do way back when, or not way back when, but when they first started some of this testing. And it was a disaster. It was, you got in and you could immediately feel like the full-on lag and like delay of when you would swing your weapon. You know, people were dropping, things did not look good, and they immediately had to tone down the server back down to like 30 people, like that. Then the next stage was, I think, last week, where the same issues when they went up to 100-man, but this time they kind of did some tweaking, and then it seemed to kind of disappear within that match, right? That lag, and it seemed to be kind of hold stable, but kind of left it at that. Then earlier this week, or was it later last week? It's kind of bleeding together now. It got to the point where everything was perfectly fine in game. You're kind of, moving around, no delay when you swing, all that good stuff. And then they dropped everyone in game, and then like 30 people crashed. And now they seem to have gotten rid of that. And the 100-mans, I've had 2 100-mans now that have been ultra smooth, and actually even smoother than when it was 30-man. So I don't know how they managed to do that, but it was playing really, really well and no issues whatsoever. And it looks like today's, even though I crashed out of both of them today, the rest of them, it seems to be everyone saying who was actually in, it was really good. So I think we can start seeing, or we're going to start seeing, the servers persist and be there completely, for the 100-man test going forward.
Yep.
Gotcha.
That would be good. That would be the next stage.
I mean, that's kind of, we talked about this a little bit, and I mean, with the development timelines we got going on, the reason why we wanted to bring this up is because these Alpha 1 stress tests started, I think, September 7th is what I'm seeing as a starting stress test. This was supposed to come back out. Now, I'm looking here at the awesome timeline over at Ashes of Creation Wiki. They put together a nice one. October 19th was supposed to begin the Alpha 1 Phase 1 arenas, which was the lobby-based 100-character deathmatch, blah, 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 blah. It is now the 25th, and we're now just sort of getting to the 100-man, kind of. Kind of.
Yeah.
Before we dig into that, let's go over to Crowchat, and I'm going to let him kind of rant a little bit. Or not rant. I'll give you some rant stuff later. No, we'll get some rant later. Yeah, yeah. Right. But I want to hear your impressions of what you've done so far, because the rest of us have been on the show. We've talked about it. But let's go to Crowchat, who this is his first time getting to just go nuts on our podcast about the game.
First and foremost, I am simply just happy to finally have something in my hands after kickstarting it so long ago. So that's fantastic. Let's just be happy with that. And when it comes to the timelines, I also share some concerns, and I know we'll get to those eventually as we go along. My experience so far, generally positive. Being forced into groups, a little frustrating, because that's what they're testing right now. They're testing those 4-man groups. So when you're a solo person like me, or probably many of you, a little awkward versus those 4-man groups in voice chat and such. So that sucks a little bit. And melee combat feels a little clunky. But for the most part, it has been a fairly positive experience. Archery, range attacks have felt very responsive. Yeah. Anytime I think to myself, okay, that arrow hit that guy, I should have dealt damage, I dealt damage, right? But the melee, it's like, am I close enough? Am I too far? Where's my hitbox? Where's their hurt box? I'm having a hard time engaging the melee combat. I'm not too sure if that's my lack of experience and practice or something wrong with their game design. And further testing will help to answer that as I gain more practice. All I want, 24/7 servers. And talking to Steven the other day, they're very close to that. Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, 24/7 servers. So we can get up, we can stream when we want, we can put in the proper testing. And that's very exciting. But until then, like we've noticed, it's hit or miss. When's a test? When's our announcement? Is it like the server guys in charge of that aspect approach Steven and go, okay, green light, message to the Discord, let's go. How much notice does Steven get? That's also a very good question we don't have an answer to. I'm very excited about the Castle Siege. I feel that's going to be it's a lot closer to a real MMORPG experience as opposed to a Battle Royale. Yeah, so it's much similar because we're going to experience that in the game. The Horde mode intrigues me. Players controlling monsters, that's very intriguing. That's an aspect in the MMORPG. And then moving on, Alpha 1, Phase 2, Alpha 2, etc. And if we are going to be discussing our fear of our timeline being pushed back, I have questions regarding the betas and how they're going to squeeze those in, considering Steven is still quite adamant about a 2020 release, or before 2020 release. Yeah. How do you squeeze all that in 1 year?
Well,
Alpha, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, going on the beta thing, we're thinking of betas as too long. I don't know, did you play Guild Wars 2?
No, I dodged that one.
Okay. The betas for those were literally a week.
That's it?
Yeah. That was 1 week.
Yeah.
Wow. They did not... Their beta for them was literally just a server stress test. Yeah.
When you word it that way, it makes a lot of sense. If you have Alpha 1 Phase 2, which is like a quarter of everything, they mentioned like, node level 3, they mentioned a quarter of the map, they mentioned 20 levels, a little bit of crafting. And then Alpha 2, they mentioned was going to be persistent. They could do the majority of their systems testing in Alpha 2, and then when you get to the betas, it's just stress testing. It's just hit these servers, let's go. Yeah. And that, like you said, it could take 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Maybe.
Because according to the timeline, if we have it all listed here, Alpha 1 Phase 2, Alpha 2, the persistent alpha, that's third quarter. You're looking at late summer, early fall. There's not a lot of room there until 2020. So that's why I was concerned about these betas. How are they going to do it? And like you said, maybe they're just really short just for stress testing.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually think it's also like it's just linked off of what they're doing, right? They have always said and stressed that they're doing the technical aspect, shoring up the servers now. In most of these traditional MMOs that we're used to, that happens in the beta
Yep.
and they don't even get it right. Like, off of that, it continues and persists. If they're doing the majority of that work here, then really all we're talking about going through, an alpha and even in beta to some part is polish, right? We're not worried about the server fidelity and the things that generally take time.
Which makes me very happy that they're starting with a battle royale, which most of us MMO people aren't super interested in.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather have these connection issues, these how do we fit enough players into the server issues, and iron this out now before Castle Siege. Imagine if they started with all this stuff they're encountering at the Castle Siege stage. That'd be very frustrating. But hopefully by then, they'll have all this stuff ironed out, and Castle Siege gameplay will start nice and smooth and not too many issues. That would be fantastic.
I get, and I know we're off topic. Now you're triggering me, Crowchat.
Go. That's the point of these.
No, it is. I recently, again, just on our YouTube page, I was looking through comments. I always read all your comments. So if you guys are leaving us comments, hey, thank you, because they are being read, even if I don't respond to them, which I actually do try to respond to every single person. So if I don't, I apologize for that. But one stuck out to me, like, a lot. And thank you so much, Creative Play and Podcast, for the host. Much appreciated. The one that stuck out to me was they released the NDA. They're testing phases that are not an MMORPG that I backed. I don't care. And Crowjack, coming up, like, even this thing we're looking at now isn't really indicative of what they're doing, because Alpha 2 was supposed to be persistent alpha, right? This is what servers are going to be up 24/7. Steven's already talking about having the servers up 24/7, like, for the Battlegrounds phase.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane.
But,
like, it's nuts.
Woodchip, thank you for the sub, by the way. But do you think that, I know you're a streamer, I love watching your streams. Do you actually think, you said when they're 24/7, people are already getting burnt out of the Battle Royale mode? I mean, I can tell you what, I am. And the reason why is because the combat's not even what the game's going to be. We don't know what the tab target aspect will either add to and or take away from what we currently have. So what's the point of getting good at it, minus, helping them stress test, obviously, which is great. But if they're doing it for a live weekend, really, hey, you got a game up to 100 players. Guess what? It didn't crash. How many more of those do you really need?
One thing I think they're testing the waters on is what kind of an appeal is there to a fantasy-based battle royale? Is it something they could have developed here and then just let sit there and be a thing on the side? They don't have to develop any further. They just have it there. And the one phrase, this is something Steven said to me during our live stream, the one phrase he used was describing the battle royale or the Castle Siege or the Horde mode. If they decide, we're going to put the word if in their chat, pay attention, if they decide to keep those going moving forward past release, if they're free, he described them as a potential funnel to allow people into the ecosystem of Ashes of Creation. They start with a battle royale, maybe the battle royale fans, and they start dabbling in it. Like, man, this world looks really cool, and these abilities are kind of cool. What is this MMO on the side? And then maybe it could help funnel people into the MMO who maybe have never tried an MMO before. And as we all know, once you go MMO, like, you're done. It's game over. There's nothing else to play. You get hook, line, and sinker in there. If they decide to do that, maybe the reaction by the general population is battle royales suck. This sucks. We don't want it. And that's going to come through feedback, through data, how many people are doing it, etc. And we're going to see how that develops down the road.
Fair enough.
Actually, that's a fantastic idea to have as a draw to bring in the
just
folks.
A big old funnel. The Castle Siege, big old funnel. Carry people in.
No,
absolutely good idea.
Yeah, no, I will give them one piece of credit. Steven did try to tie the lore of Vera into the Battle Royale. The Battle Royale, the way he explains it is, these are the people who missed the boat, so to speak.
Yeah. Feel bad for them.
I actually like the explanation. Keep going. It's pretty cool, but I love it.
It is a neat explanation when you're thinking about it. Like, he's like, the characters you're playing are the ancestors of your character that will play when the game first comes out, because these are the people who were in the city. They did not make it through the Divine Gateway in time. and this is essentially the cataclysm that just wiped out all living beings on the surface. I say the surface because we have those nasty, icky underrealm people, but you know.
Yeah. No.
How can they be our ancestors if they're the ones left over in the cataclysm and they all died?
Maybe it's a Superman thing where they put you in the rock. You know, like you are the last hope, son.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. They,
or maybe some of them end up being the Talnar, because that's how that goes down, right? They escape underground. So
that's what they did say.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's the winner at the end of the battleground.
Oh yeah.
It takes 2 to start a population, though.
So
That's why they added teams. It is kind of disturbing though that we only have the white male Biff character, so I'm not really sure how the procreation's going to happen, even with a team of 4.
Not very well.
Yeah. Yeah, I may not have paid a lot of attention in biology class, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to work.
Tango.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Like, I've even said early on that the release of the NDA was a bad idea because it is for the people who aren't following the game as religiously as the rest of us. I mean, come on, we're doing a show about it 2 years. We started over a year ago.
Yep.
We're hyper fans. Like, we're the nuts who are sitting there like waiting on the words of Steven every 10 seconds. Most people aren't going to do that. They're going to hop in, look at this, and I know as a content creator, Crowchat and I are both official content creators. Steven has already come to us and say it's kind of your job to, you know, dispel a lot of the negatives, or not the negatives, but the false news, the fake news, the fake news.
Yeah, fake news. Yeah.
The problem is it doesn't matter how much you say it. People still don't listen. They go, I actually linked it in the content creator chat. I don't know if you saw this, Crowjack, but I was over on Massively OP where they said the NDA dropped. There were 30-some comments. Each and every one was, wow, those Kickstarter people got screwed. They turned it into a battle royale. Oh, just another battle royale.
Yeah, I saw that too. That was
the number of pieces of content that I've released, where within the piece of content, I explain quite clearly this is a combat test for the purposes of the MMORPG on the road, and my comment section is still flooded. Then again, maybe they're just trolls, and we've given them super easy ammunition to fire at us. But like, wait, I thought this was an MMO.
We didn't. Intrepid Studios did.
They did. They set us up for that really easy ammunition. Intrepid gave the arrows to the trolls and said, "Here you go.
Yep,
fire the content creators."
Oh, hold on. Let's dip that in tar so you can light it on fire. Let's add.
Now, the one mitigating factor to all this is the fact that if they could, if they hit their timeline, keep to their timeline, we'll really only have to deal with this until Q2 basically, right? And even then, December, because then we'll have the castle siege, and that'll be over with the BR. So, it's worst case.
Even if the BR is running as well as a castle siege, the mere presence of this different mode should shut up most people or make most people understand what's kind of happening here. Again, except for the trolls who are looking for something to shoot you with.
Right, and they will do that. And I've been getting into, I wouldn't say an argument, it's a discussion. Because everyone knows I hate the art style of the game that they're going with. Yep. And that's, again, I can't, it's not, there's no right or wrong answer. Yeah, it's a preference for me, right? Some people love it. Good on you. I hate it. And we got back and forth asking about, they linked the old armor, the old rogue armor, which I loved. Remember one of the first ones, the Art of War, where the rogue was like diving around? He looked really awesome. Loved it. They're like, why do you assume that if they've already made this, that they're not going to, remake it for the new characters and stuff? Like, it's so much easier just to repurpose the old stuff. Why would they get rid of it? I said to the person that was on the forums, I can't remember names, I'm sorry. And he made a good point, but he made the point for me where he's like, it's easy. Why would they get rid of that? Why wouldn't they, why are you worried they're going to do it with the old armor? I'm like, you just answered your own question. Why, if it was so easy to remake the old armor and just apply it to the new model, why did they go out of their way to make new ones when it would have been less time just to adapt the old armor? The reason why I brought that up is the arenas that they're talking about. They had a working battleground arena at PAX. Why did they go with the battle royale if they already had a working prototype of a standard MMORPG battleground in place?
This is where we get in the conversation of the funnel and of the potential of maybe this BR might succeed. Maybe they think it's a 10% chance,
Well,
a 50% chance, a 5% chance.
The one that was at PAX, that could have been a POC, right? At that time period, you're definitely going to talk about proof of concept. So you could be doing code that has nothing to do with the base code now, and that was what that was. It all depends how they did it.
Right.
Again, I'd love to see their plans, but they're not going to show us. But there's all those different ideas will be coming out of there.
And I see the 5th co-host is already on here. Yes, the cat is on my lap. She never lets me do a show without being right here. No, and I agree. Like, I know from not just an aesthetic. Like, I know they have the battleground, but this was to test the action combat side of things. The proof of concept that you were saying that they had at PAX had classes. So did Alpha Zero, had classes. The Battle Royale has no classes.
That's not what they're testing.
No, it's not what they're testing.
Right.
And I can see that, but why couldn't they have done it with the arena they already had, which wouldn't give people the false impression of a Battle Royale?
Well, how big was the...
It was like a 4v4v4 arena or something like that. So it had like 12 people in it. And, you know, I think I just kind of answered my own question at that point because they wanted to try to get up to... They tried to get up to 100 people to test the castle sieges in the Horde mode. Touche, Jones. You made a good point. Yes, sir, you did. I tip my hat to you.
Working on the network and stuff all this time, the back end, the layerings behind there, that has changed significantly since PAX.
Yeah,
it
that's
had
true.
to, right? So the way you're going to structure this, whether it's going to be iterative or where you're going to do it, you're going to put it all together and piece by piece stack it together. Some stuff is built just to show you can build it. Some stuff is built just to get a piece out of it. It all depends what their plan is.
Fair. All right. Let's move into the actual talking about where we are with the development timelines. I know it was a little bit of a tangent, but it was still a fun tangent. It was awesome. I like it. So the Alpha 1 stress test started September 7th. We know they've been running into issues. They've been running into quite a bit of issues. And Crowchat, please stop staring into the soul of Hypercore Ripper because apparently you're scaring him. Anyway,
Sorry, we have a long history.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. This is penetrating eyes. Do you... using Unreal 4, and I keep coming back to this, Unreal 4 is what they're using. What other game? Ashes of Fortnite. I mean, normal Fortnite has 100 players already going. If they can only just now hitting the 100-man battles, and they're still kind of what have they changed with their netcode that apparently the base game came with that can already support 100 characters? Like,
well, we don't know that. We know Fortnite does it, but we don't know if they're doing it with the base code.
Fair, but I mean, it's Epic. It's Epic doing it. The people who make the engine, so they know their engine.
I understand. Yeah, right. So one of the pitfalls of using other people's code, whether it's frameworks or not, is thinking you know better, and you then start from scratch, even with their own code. So you have their code, you doctor it. Every time they do a version, you then have to catch up to it. So if they chose that route, you get stuck in a lot of places. A lot of software development gets caught in that cycle of, yep, we got it working up. There's a new version. We need this feature, which means we have to go back and upgrade our old code. So it all depends on what they've laid out.
Okay. Interesting. Anyone have any comments on that?
That is above and beyond my pay grade and knowledge base.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. All right.
I can give you a BS answer, but...
Oh, yeah, we can make stuff up. Yeah, the network code, something... Yeah, no.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so let's say they sort out the 100-player for the lobby, all right? They kind of already have. They're tweaking it. We're great. So that's going to move into the Alpha 1 Phase 1 arena testing, which they are... Again, are they going to change their timeline? Because we, as the testers, were supposed to have it for a month of testing. Despite the fact that I really think you're going to have a heck of a hard time filling up a 100-man match 2 weeks into that month.
That's what that's the only thing that I'm actually worried about and kind of fearing with this thing. You've already kind of seen quote unquote issues with hitting even like 50 at a time. I mean, during the weekend there was they got a nice flow kind of going, but during the off hours and like that, there were problems hitting that number. So 100-man, on the other hand, I'm worried that it may not pop frequent enough and it might eat on itself, basically, where people are like, it's not popping, so I'm just going to jump out of queue and then,
No.
Part of the problem they have is the audience they have, right? The Kickstarter, the summer backers, whoever's in this, they're in it for the MMO, right? So that's why they paid into it. So they may jump in the better. I had a great time, right? Loved the Wand of Light. Had a great time in there, having fun.
So good.
If you're not running Wand of Light, you're just doing BR.
Gotta be in your inventory. It has to be.
I mean, I'm learning things about how to play the other ones, the other battle royales. Well, I'm in there. That's fun. It's a good thing to do. But that's just particularly me. That's a small audience in an already small audience. So you're taking a stress test, and you did it. I think you're right, Alpha. They're going to have a really hard time filling it. That's why they're pulling forward some of the testers from farther out so we can get more people in, because they're running into the problem of we can't get enough people. It's a great plan, but I think they missed and didn't have a real good contingency for it.
Right. And I see the donut in chat says, why not lower the cap to 50 for the queue? I think that would be a good way for when the testing is starting to slow down, but that's going to require someone to sit there and monitor going, wow, we really don't have 100 people in the queue. Let's lower it up. That's the fact that they've said they already have 8,000 and some odd Alpha 1 testers who bought into it. How can you not fill a 100-man game other than the fact that the people are just not interested in testing the BR?
Which is why Steven has talked about releasing it to the general public 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, because at that point, you're going to get the numbers that you need to really test these systems.
Absolutely.
Again, I think that's going to be very short-lived, because it's going to be, hey, I got in. Whew. All right,
and they'll do 2-3 rounds, and then maybe they lose interest, or maybe they stick around.
I mean,
absolutely.
I see some chat about time slots. Yeah, the time slots are weird. Like the one today, I have a 3-year-old son. I don't play while he's awake, so I did not get into it.
That's tough.
But the Europeans are screwed in most cases. The Oceanics are screwed in most cases. So having 24/7 will definitely help. I don't know if it'll alleviate after the first week or after the first flare, because I was actually looking at it. I was looking at the stream numbers the day that it dropped, because I know, Crowchat, you and I were streaming day one. You had like 300 people. I had like 170. They had the test today. There was like 8 people streaming, and I think the highest person had 17.
Now, on that regard, I'm not going to name names because I will get punched in the mouth. I will get in trouble. There are some pretty big-time streamers on Twitch who have expressed interest and wanted to test this Battle Royale combat.
Sure.
And I'm not talking like people with 100,000 followers. I'm talking more than that. A good chunk more than that. So when this becomes public in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whenever they really get it all hammered out, it becomes public and the general audience can get in, and then their favorite streamers are trying it, I'm excited to see the kinds of numbers of viewership, exposure to the game, and then hopefully with that exposure to the MMORPG as well.
I don't know if it's ready for that yet.
Yeah.
No, the servers are not ready for that. And they're not ready for that.
No, not the servers, the game itself.
No, I don't believe so either. It's going to look rough. Even 2 to 3 weeks from now, it's going to look rough. The UI looks a bit rough. The inventory is still buggy. They have some stuff they really need to hammer out.
Yeah.
Before,
it won't be hammered out in 2 weeks.
And I see Woodchip in chat says, can the content creators approach Steven and talked about that's the thing. He wants to get, like, I think we were in one where he's like, I'm going to give you guys at least a few days heads up. That's not happening at this point.
And let's say he wants to.
Well, no,
he's like, the staff, the developers, the software engineers aren't able to give him those kinds of advanced notice. Maybe.
Sure. No, I love Steven. He knows I love Steven. He knows I love him. He's amazing. But I think Steven gets so freaking excited that he makes promises that the developers are going, Darn it,
I
Steven.
love the live streams where Steven wants to like talk about a little secret,
Yeah.
and he looks at Jeff, and Jeff's like, I don't know.
Yeah, Jeff's like, don't you dare. Don't you even think about it.
That
He's
is
like a kid in a candy store. He just wants to share all this stuff he's excited about.
No,
that
and
is a constant problem of CEOs.
Yeah.
Right? They're at such a high level. They are so excited. They are pumped. That's their job to get. They know what they're doing. But they don't have the nitty gritty details. They've heard what they've been told, and well, maybe that was the day before, or something happened.
Things change.
And it didn't come up yet to his level. He doesn't know. You know what? We hit a roadblock. We aren't ready today, right? So this is not uncommon in any business for CEOs to be just loving it, but then stepping beyond where they should. But that's not unnatural.
And Donut, I see you're in chat. He's like, you tell me Doves can't say, hey, Steve, we're going to do a test night. Well, they are. That's the thing. They are. But then we, as content creators, as streamers, as stuff like that, get the notice when Steven gets the notice, which is when the servers are up. And I don't know about what most people's lives are. Like, I don't do this for a living. This is not my job. I actually enjoy my real life job. I do it for fun. If I'm not at home or I'm feeding my kid, I'm not going to run downstairs to stream Ashes of Creation. Some other people have that ability. Good on them. I appreciate those people because then I can watch them while feeding my kid. But yeah, great, Jack. I mean,
Full-time content creator over here.
Good job. And I applaud you for that. I don't know. I like the stability of my real life job.
Self-employed creative entrepreneur that when something goes wrong, you can't turn to your boss and blame him because you just blame yourself.
Well, see, that's sort of the thing. I am the boss at this point. So when something goes wrong, they look at me and going,
all right, now what?
Now what do we do? And I'm sitting there going, God dang it. Yeah. Different situation, but yeah.
This is kind of random, but I just thought of this. I think the problem that they're going to have is going to switch on its head once they switch to an MMORPG, kind of class-based persistent world.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go from struggling to get, members into these queues to all of a sudden, holy crap, depending on how many they put in, these people are in all the time.
Sure.
That's not something we talk about very often. We're all so focused on the now that we're not really looking and thinking about what that could be like.
Oh, no, that's going to be amazing because I know when it's an actual MMO, like, I'll tell you what, I put more time into Alpha Zero, which felt more like an MMO, than I did the Battle Royale. I mean, anytime there was an Alpha Zero test, guess what? My son came and sat on my lap. And then he's like, Daddy, what are you doing? And I'm just like, don't even know. I'm killing Fanglers, but it's amazing.
They are, but I'm killing them.
Daddy, what's that? What's that? No, it's true. And moving into the later ones, even if they can somehow manage to get the 100 players going, all right, guys, we're not even a week until November. December's supposed to be when they get the castle sieges going.
End of December. Give them a solid 2 months there.
All right,
like
end of December. Let's talk about a couple of things that may or may not run into the problem. So they got the 100 people in there, right? Great. We still don't have any NPCs or mobs yet, and I don't think that's going to be part of the castle sieges, but at this point, we don't have any of that.
I agree.
They're expecting to have guild invites in the Alpha 1 Phase 1 castle sieges. Objective-based destructible castles. Now, yes, they do have some destructible buildings, but as much as people hate it, they're destroyed like Fortnite, like in perfect squares, and that annoys me. I don't know if it annoys anyone else, but it annoys me.
Yeah, that's going to need some development time to really flesh that out.
Yeah, because that's the base of what Unreal can offer. Yeah, and I get that. You're using what you got, but you have to make it look real. Who's going to be really annoyed when a siege engine crashes into it and a perfect square disappears out of a tower? That's going to be annoying for me.
I don't think that's going to last, to be honest. I think they're focusing on the netcode, they're focusing on the back end, they're focusing on the combat and all that. I think the destruction piece they're probably working on and will be adding to it as they go. They just haven't hit that iteration yet.
Right.
As I'm looking at it.
And there's my cat. She's just like all over. And the thing is, I see Donut. He's like, why not schedule our wood chip? Okay, question. How do we get more people into BR? Let's come up. Answer, cosmetics. They've actually already have that. The cosmetics for participating in the BR are there, But at this point, I will say one of the problems is there's no achievable goals. It's just because they don't have that in place yet. It's not like do 100 matches and you get something. Steven's already said, if you participate in the BR, guess what? You got it. Is that one match?
Yep.
Is that one match where you crash? You know, we don't know.
Is there a scale of cosmetics where one match gets you this, but then maybe 10 matches this? We don't know yet. And hopefully they have all that ready by the time they're ready to release it to the public in quote-unquote 2 to 3 weeks. But until I see it, I'm not going to believe it. I have to see this. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
If it's 2 to 3 weeks, they're already testing whatever they're going to put out. So it's not there. Yeah, it's at the very minimum you're going to have a 3-week iteration. So you're not going to be ready for anything new in 2 to 3 weeks. Whatever you have now is what's going out.
So what do you like? They're still actively working, and I rock my burst. I see your question. I'll get to that in a second. Actually, that might be a good time. So Rock says, tinfoil hat time. Why do you think the Q&A got pushed a week? There was supposed to be a Q&A. Was it today?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wednesday?
It was Wednesday. It was Wednesday.
Tinfoil hat time.
Yeah.
Love tinfoil
but it's
hat
getting pushed to the 31st?
Yeah.
Now, I know one of the things that's on the forums is I guess they're going to do a Halloween type thing. Is that why they pushed it back? I don't know.
No, that's a throw-in.
I don't think so.
Okay.
My guess is... so I've got 2 guesses. My pie in the sky guess is that some way, somehow, they'll be releasing Castle Siege earlier. That's my pie in the sky.
That's aggressive.
That's my pie in the sky.
Wow.
Like for some reason or another.
Okay.
That's what happened.
We'll go with it.
I mean, I accept your pie in the sky, but they haven't even opened up the BR to everyone yet. So.
I know. That's what makes me pie in the sky.
To give a little bit of credibility to that, maybe the what's the word I want? The lash out about the battle royale that Steven go to all these YouTube channels and read their comment sections. He can go to his forums, he can go to his Discord and see the feedback. There's a lot of maybe a minority, but man, they're loud of people that don't want a battle royale.
Yeah.
So maybe like what we're talking about, he sees this feedback and he goes, yeah, battle royale, MMO, it's kind of a hard sell. Let's really focus on development of this Castle Siege behind the scenes. I don't know, like just as the technical stuff behind something like that and getting it ready, I couldn't even begin to imagine. Because it's supposed to be 100 versus 100, and they can't get 100 people on the service, period.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So, with the buildings at the same time.
With the building instructions, the
and siege weapons,
like
class kits. Class kits? We haven't seen the classes since Alpha 0.
That's why it's pie in the sky.
That's a big old pie. You gotta be an
yeah.
optimist, right? You gotta be an optimist.
Now, my more realistic one is...
Oh, no, Ashes of Creation's watching us.
What? Uh-oh.
Hey, Steven!
Alex/Jeff, or who else is there? Hi.
Can you send us your test plan? No, go ahead.
All I know is they sent me an eyeball, so they're looking at me right now.
Give us the keys to the kingdom. Just give us everything, all of it. We want all of it, even.
So what is it? So I listened to, and I was watching Crowchat. I think it was your live stream, Crowchat, where he talked about this, and I think it might be the new website, like the whole account management.
That was brought up.
So that got my ears like burning and perked up, and I was like, I think that might be it. And we might be getting some like little juicy tidbits with like node systems or general things with like a new website.
New website, actual account tracking, so we're not we can log in with our accounts, not these random generated logins.
Yeah.
That would be neat. Like I could see that being
that would be doable.
Back to the live stream being pushed back. One thing I remember having a conversation with Steven about it was centered. How do I word this without like trying to go one way or another with this conspiracy theory? It was centered around the conversation about the persistent battle royale, the persistent Castle Siege past release. And during the conversation of that, Steven brought up the live stream that he was going to talk in. So that was part of that conversation. So have they come to a new decision on that? Are they changing their mind on that? Are they still debating amongst themselves as a team about a persistent BR after release or not? Is that why they're pushing it back? That came up during that conversation. So
I love Rock My Burst. I didn't mean to laugh there, but it made me laugh.
Nodes 3.
Nodes 3, that's what they're in.
Such a meme. Oh my god. Like I said to Steven, dude, we're gonna see Nodes 3 2 years after release, right? We're gonna see Nodes 3.
Oh man. Ow, my cat's biting me. Ow. She doesn't agree, apparently.
Apparently not.
Oh. Here's a fun tin hat. So the Alpha 1 Phase 1 Horde mode, city defense, 50 players defend the city against waves of incoming NPCs and player-controlled monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder if they're going to switch their timeline around. If they can't get 200 people in there, why not do Horde mode first? Because that would only be 150 people and then the monsters. That would be a work up to the 100v100.
Interesting. Yeah.
It would depend what they're working on, but I mean, doable. But it depends what they're working on.
Yeah.
Sorry,
they already have a lot of the mob models done. They have the Fanglers. They have the Sorrow's Hunger from the A0 test. There was a lot of mobs they could actually use that were already created and ready to go. Why
It all
not?
depends.
That would mean we
Depends
have
what
class
they had
kit.
planned out.
Well, I mean, yeah, they don't have the class kit, but they need the class kit for castle sieges.
Right. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Personal perspective, this is just from me what I would love to see. If I had to choose, I would much rather experience the Castle Siege gameplay instead of the Horde mode and experience Horde mode or what's meant or parts of it in the MMORPG testing. If I had to pick one, baby, I would pick the Castle Siege. That just sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they already have a castle in place, and if anyone's run around it in the BR, it's a fascinating looking castle.
Some of my favorite places to drop. It's fun.
And I see some people in chat asking about the 100-man and Ashes of Creation talking. Tonight we had a server-side performance of 100-plus players in an almost ready performance state for 200 players.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Ooh.
That's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Uh-oh. All of a sudden, my pie in the sky doesn't seem so in the sky.
Castle Siege confirmed. October 31st. Confirmed.
Done. And I see, as he says, Horde mode requires complicated AI work. That is true. Yeah.
True.
That's a lot of work too behind the scenes.
Pathing and decision making.
Oh yeah, and that,
priorities.
and you've got to set up so the developers are not doing all the AI. You got to set it up so that the not as expensive, we'll put it, folks are doing that work.
Yep.
So you're going to set up a system where they can build around it and do it.
Yeah. Fair.
You lost somebody.
Oh, no. Alpha Soul. Maybe he had to run out to get his Red Dead Redemption, I guess.
He had to get it. Right? GameStop was right there. They called.
He got the text message. Oh, gotta go.
All right. Well,
Gotta
so
go.
given that, and the fact that, according to Steven or whoever's controlling the Ashes of Creation Twitch channel in chat right now, if they're almost ready for the 200 people, so given the fact that they have a month and a week left, that gives enough time for them to open it up to everyone so we can get some good games 24/7 going on. Moving into the December testing of the Ashes of Creation, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure on this one, you're not going to be able to play the arena mode 24/7 while the other test is going on. You'll get it for a month, and then all the plebs will get kicked back out, and then testers will come back in for castle sieges. So, going by Steven's word that the castle sieges are still on par for December, that gives us essentially a quarter before Horde mode. Do we see any issues that they may come into? I mean, if they can get the 100v100 going, it's just a matter of getting the destructible castles and making it break in a realistic way, siege engines and stuff, and class kits in place. I'm excited for class kits because we'll actually finally be able to start seeing some of the class stuff again. That's neat.
Remember, everything's in alpha, so anything you see in that can be changed. Reminding the chat, it's alpha, it's alpha, it's alpha.
It's alpha, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
Remember that,
nothing's-
chat.
Yeah.
It's the unseen that's going to catch them. It's the unintended that's going to catch them. It's the things that, if I don't think, and I know as a group, and I don't know what individuals, they've been through this whole beginning phase and setup of an MMO. If they don't have that experience in their back pocket, it's the things they don't see coming that'll catch them. One of the biggest problems I have at work is people who they're great. They haven't done this particular thing before. They've done something similar. It's the things they say, oh, we'll be there in a day. And they catch some stuff, that catches them, and then a week later they finally get it. This is what, if you don't have the experienced people in there to know, you know what, you're going to miss this piece over here or this piece over here to direct them, you're going to get some gotchas. I think that's probably why they had to push back the stress test. but you never know. It depends what's happening.
Oh, well, we definitely know that's how they... Because one of the first times they did the 100-man, the server performance went... The servers literally caught on fire.
Yeah.
That was the joke in the Discord. We were sending computer on fire gifts nonstop in the Discord.
What was actually really funny is we had one of our guildies in chat with us, and they were listening.
Yeah.
They were playing Guild Wars 2, and Guild Wars 2 went down. I said, Steven rented server space right next to the Guild Wars 2 server. Our server fire took out Guild Wars 2.
Watch out, ESL's next.
Oh, no, don't you dare touch my... No. All right, so castle sieges, I mean, they got to get destructible castle in place. We don't know if the physics are in place for the castle. We know it's in for some of the smaller buildings, but maybe not the castle, siege weapon, and class kits. The AI getting hit for the end of March. All right? Moving into the end of March, getting that in place. I think they're going to
the castle siege is much more likely to make it than the AI for the Horde mode.
Sure.
Yeah.
Moving into Q2, though, we got the addition of the hybrid action, where we'll actually see the combat system be what Ashes of Creation is supposed to be.
Yeah, that's the big one.
And I'm so curious. They've talked about giving us a way of shifting the scale to 75% action, 25% tab target, or the other way. I'm so curious to see critical hits, for example. Non-action combat, you have a baked-in 30, 35, depending on the game, percent chance of crit. Action combat, you have to hit a specific spot. How much damage is that going to do? And how are you going to balance that versus the baked-in? There's so many questions I have regarding that. It's going to be crazy to see. And that's just the critical hit chance stuff. There's more than just that.
Yeah.
We were kind of having a little bit of the conversation within our own guild, just doing some very early theory crafting. And we were almost looking at it going, we feel like the meta is going to start fleshing out that where tab target will pretty much be any kind of melee, and ranged will be where you go action so you can get the headshots.
How do you hit a critical spot in melee? Where is the critical spot on this beast, and how do I hit it with a sword in melee?
Well, they've already dropped it down from 3 hitboxes to 2. You know? So there is that. I don't
had to happen.
Well, yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. It had to happen. I don't know. Like, I don't know if will tab I think tab target abilities, we already know, well, again, subject to change, but within the Alpha Zero screenshots we've seen, the block is a passive. It's a passive, and like they have attack power stuff. You can look this up, go to the Ashes of Creation wiki, look up some of the early screenshots. You can see the paper dolls, the character windows, and you'll see the raw percentages. You'll have your stats, and then you have, like, block is a percentage chance. I think when you start going tab target, it no longer takes hitboxes into account, and then you have a native crit chance based on your attributes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Could be.
I can't even begin to theory craft the numbers for that.
No.
If you are really good with aiming and accuracy, rule a range character that's mostly action out DPS a range character that's mostly tab. If you're able to land those critical shots consistently.
See, that's the case. That's the trickiest thing about it. And I mean, they've said, I think we had this question to Stephen before, and he's been pretty clear that this is something that they have to try and figure out and work on, right? That they have to come up with it. But to that point that you just made, I don't know how you do it without throwing the advantage drastically in one direction or another based on your combat type, right? Because if, you know, the meta will be something along the lines of, if you're a range, then you better be action, right?
Yeah.
Because then you can score, if you're skilled enough, you can score as many crits as you want.
And Woodchip asked something in chat, and this is a good time for this question as well. He says, I know you don't think the full release by 2020. I shouldn't say that. I do think it's possible, but I think the team is with any type of development, whether it's computer engineering, anything like that, you run into, you know, little speed bumps that kind of take you back. You may get ahead of schedule, as Ashes of Creation is ahead of schedule. We've seen that with the stress test already. They started hitting some roadblocks that were like, oh, the stress test was supposed to be a weekend, and the next week was supposed to be, and it turned into a month-and-a-half saga. But as you said in chat, I'd like to see the panel's opinion at this time of what percent or for a percent of what they think. Okay, so what do you guys think that's going to release before 2020?
But we're already wait. Time out. There is one thing though. We're already actually ahead dev time by what was it? 3 months, give or take. I think.
Well, at this point, with Castle Sieges are supposed to come out next month, so they have a month.
Yeah.
They have about 2 end of December. We're not quite in November. There's a good 60 days there.
Okay, if you give them to the very end of December, December 31st, you have 2 months.
Yeah, solid 60 days or so.
Sure.
Hopefully.
Okay. All right. So percentage chance from each of us. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Storms.
Well, no, I don't want to give away my guess. Go ahead. Let you go first.
All right. Fine. Based on so for me, I think the chance right now is about 50%, and let me tell you why I think that. There's too much that I don't know about what currently exists. I wasn't in Alpha 0, so I have no clue about the actual MMO environment. I have no clue about what the AI state is. I know server stability and general performance is something that can slow, development time down, but that's not the only thing. I think for those other things to go, they can potentially push it out of 2020. I don't think that. There's so many unknown. I still think they can do it, but it's really a flip of a coin right now.
Go ahead, Crowchat.
All right. I was itching to jump in there. Like, let me go. I am King Optimist, as my chat knows, and a few of my regulars are here in the chat. I'm going to say 80%. Before we had this conversation, I was leaning more towards 60%, but I'm pushing it to 80 because at first, my concern was how do we fit the betas into the end of that year? But after our discussion where we talked about betas don't necessarily need to be long, they could just be the stress testing, that gave me a bit more confidence in the fact that this passionate group could get it out. I could be totally wrong. And generally, I'm of the mind, I don't care if it's released early. I don't care if it's released on time. I don't care if it's released late. Do it properly. Do it properly the first time and get it out when you need to get it out. If you can get it early, fantastic. If you can get it on time, great. If it's late, I'll deal with it. I'll cry in a corner every day until it comes out, Steven. I know you're watching. I will cry every day it's not released. Just to let you know, Steven.
And Steven, remember, if I'm right, you can't make the Stuffertons mount with the sign that says I was wrong for me. So I know he really is pushing the team because he wants me to ride that mount that says I was wrong everywhere.
I would love to see that. Ashes of Creation is still in the chat.
Ashes of Creation is still in the chat. They're watching. Storms, what about you?
All right. So again, from an outside perspective, from seeing what we've seen, seeing the let's say the passion to get this done, but understanding they're a new company, while they've experienced folks, and I've seen this sort of reaction in the past, I'm going to give it 40% chance they're going to make it by 2020. If it goes into 2020, it's not going to be long, first or second quarter, but I don't see the contingency that needs to be there in the timeline with the fact that this came up.
Fair.
If I had to walk up to my CEO and say 2020, I wouldn't do it. I would say, let's start mid-2020. We can make it better. That's great. But
it takes a lot of courage
I'd love it to make
it like that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage.
The other thing that really comes into this is we know Intrepid Studios is growing at an insane rate. They're getting a lot of people. A lot of people fast. It probably doesn't help that all these other companies are, laying everyone off. But sorry, Telltale Games. Sorry, Tryon Worlds. I mean, what?
Yeah, what?
Anyway, they're growing at an insane rate. But getting new people doesn't necessarily mean a one-for-one change in a workforce.
Diminishing returns
yes.
on that.
It depends, again, what piece is sticking them, right? Say they've got a bunch of developers of AI, and that's what they're having the sticking problem with. That's fantastic. But if they're having other problems, but they have a bunch of AI folks, which is good, it doesn't help your critical path.
Sure. Yeah,
so that's what it's going to depend on. The critical path, and we don't know what it is, but that piece, I'm sure, is posted on somebody's wall saying, this is what we have to match.
Right. And the donut, he said it right. For me, I'm a realist. I'm a dreamer, but I'm a realist at the same point. You know, I mean, I back the project because I believe in what Steven's vision is. Just despite some of the things that I may or may not like about the game.
Art style.
Yeah, you Steven, you know this, and I will never stop harping on it.
And as always, totally subjective.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not right or wrong on this one, but I'm very much a realist. Like, I do believe that. I don't think this is what everyone calls Star Citizen, like vaporware. I do believe it's coming out, like 100%. But I also know, from a project management standpoint, from a development standpoint, these things you run into roadblocks, and sometimes it's a few minutes to fix, few hours to fix, a few days to fix. Sometimes it's something where you have to completely re-engineer. I mean, we've seen that happen with Crowfall already. We've seen that happen with Camelot Unchained, where Camelot Unchained was supposed to be out like 5 years ago, I think. It's probably an exaggeration, but they literally hit a roadblock where their developers are like, yeah, we need to just recode everything.
Awkward.
Yeah. Crowfall did that. They had to completely redo their combat system. They went, yeah, this isn't working. And that's why they're back there. Maybe we get to Q2 with the hybrid action tab target, and they go, this just isn't working. We have to re-envision everything.
And tying into what you just said, I mean, here we are with this Battle Royale phase that didn't even exist when we kickstarted it, right? This was never a thing. Our first taste of alpha was supposed to be what would be a more traditional MMO alpha. This was kind of added on later on development.
Sure, yeah.
We're hoping and guessing and trying to get a feel for how this project is doing at this point. I think, as you talked about, when we get to Alpha 1 Phase 2 and then Alpha 2, with a more persistent world, we'll definitely have a much better feel for where they are in development, how things are coming along, how is the artificial intelligence, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, it's so hard to speculate just based off of what we have known to us at this time.
Absolutely. And
you had a real good point there.
It's an amazing point. The other thing is, each one of these phases, 100 man does not an MMO make. Each one of these could be a lobby game. This could be the arena phase could be the next Fortnite. The castle sieges could be the next For Honor. You know, like those are the things that we're seeing. Like, Horde mode could be the next Plant versus Zombies. You know, like these things are not an MMO. They are, yes, they're important mechanics that are going into an MMO, but I can boot up Dragon Age Inquisition, and it's a beautiful fantasy world, but guess what? There's not people on it. It's not persistent, you know, that stays around. And I'm sure the promises that we heard early on were that Ashes of Creation was going to be this huge, massive world with limited instancing. Not Guild Wars 2 lobby where I hop into a city and then I go to a map and lobby out to do my castle sieges. Yeah. Not saying they are, but I'm saying at this point in the phase, that's all we have. We have essentially what every other game is doing right now. That's what we're saying. So yeah, when Alpha 1 Phase 2 and especially Alpha 2 come out, we'll be able to give more certainty as to where they're going.
Yeah, it'll be a lot closer. You can see when you get closer. I think it's interesting that you brought up that point that this wasn't in the initial Kickstarter. This wasn't in the plans, right?
No.
So you have something that was added as a requirement for whatever reason, which is fine, but the original timeline that was given didn't have this in it, so now it's in it, and what did that do to something else?
Well, this entire timeline that I'm seeing here is shifted up, because I don't think we were actually supposed to see Alpha 1 arenas until December. If I remember correctly, I think that got moved back a quarter because they're like, hey, we're ready to start testing this.
And that's okay. That's how things work. So, yeah, absolutely.
I just had a thought for the first time that I haven't had in any of my content creation, etc. And it just happened because of this conversation about these three parts not being part of the initial plan.
Yeah.
Since they weren't a part of the initial plan, if development is getting roadblocks, unforeseen roadblocks, things they weren't expecting, if you had to cut a corner to make sure you reach your deadlines, Castle Siege / Horde mode are the corners you could cut because they were never originally intended. They were something they went, hey, this could be cool. if things are going bad, if things are like, man, we're behind, all these unforeseen circumstances, our timeline's going back, skip one of them. Skip the castle or skip the Horde and make sure you get to Alpha 1 Phase 2 and Alpha 2 on time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like that would have been a better thing for the arena mode because castle sieges are 100% part of the MMORPG. And Horde mode technically is too, because remember, Horde mode is supposed to be the monster coin system, as well as the live events that happen when nodes level. Like sieges of nodes are supposed to happen. I know, right? That's really cool. These things are integral to what the world is supposed to be.
However, we also talked about the value of the BR is doing all the server testing and all the bug testing before you get to castle siege. So there is some value there in running this first test.
There is 100% value to the arena.
Well, and the value to Steven is annoying content creators by making them answer the same comment over and over. This is not a battle royale. This is an MMO. They're sitting there loving it.
Yeah, if you think of this in like modular style, it does make sense their plan, because if you take Monster Siege and the Castle Sieges, those are really just components of the game that you would that you would include on, and it's kind of like I look at it kind of Lego blocks, just tack on, and it's something that you need to do. But it kind of makes sense why they would break that off, because I think it's tougher to test that in an MMO once you put it in and it's already been. You kind of have the world going around and people are running around doing their own thing. If it's its own module, it's a little bit easier.
Oh, absolutely. That's a good way of stacking it.
So, I didn't have this in the official note, so I'm really kind of just springing this just to round out the conversation, because I think we kind of came to the end of our discussion. What do you guys feel if the BR mode was made its own game that was then monetized to help fund the game going forward?
Who wants to start?
No one wants to touch that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not cool with this. If you can do it properly, if you can pay the staff to do it and not take away from the MMO, if you can pay them properly, and there is a desire for it in the marketplace, if the market decides, the market, I say the viewing audience and the gaming audience, if the market decides that this product is good enough and you can pay the developers to keep it going, go for it. If the market decides it's garbage and they don't like it, and the streamers give it a shot and they run away, and no one's testing it, then you let it die. It's really up to the market. Can it hurt the image of the MMORPG? Potentially. Can it act as a funnel to bring people into the MMORPG? Possibly. I've never done that before myself, so I can't really speak on that with experience, but hopefully the developers will make good decisions there.
I got you.
Chat is
vehemently
against it.
My answer would be no as well, only because of how Fortnite came about.
Yeah.
I know the dev story of Fortnite. You know, their studio is struggling, and they've got one IP, on the other hand, that for some reason is doing better, than the rest, which was Fortnite, right? And then what happened with every other game that Epic Games had? It got canned. It got pushed to the wayside. I was part of the Paragon game.
That's the game I was trying to think of. Like, they've got Paragon, and then...
yeah, they had Paragon, and all of a sudden, because Fortnite was doing so well, they decided, we're just pulling dev resources. Paragon's done, right? So my worry would be, even if it was successful to the overall market, and it did really well, my worry would be that it would be that Fortnite level success where it would subtract from the experience of Ashes and what we're kind of expecting for. So it's more of a fear on my part if they did release it. Yeah.
And I see Woodchip. Anyone know if we will have Rubble from the destruction of walls, etc. back in CU, Camelot Unchained, for those who don't know as well. And I know that they had problems with server performance and had to recode. Currently, there is no Rubble. But I think that's something they need to add in for atmospheric effects.
It's like the deer in Cyrodiil.
Yeah, right? Overnight, all the deer in Cyrodiil just disappeared. Mass extinction. It was horrible. Crazy. I really do think they need to add Rubble as a
oh, yeah, absolutely. I think atmospheric, it's needed.
Yeah, definitely needed. All right, guys.
Plus, Rubble doesn't move, so
It's true. I mean, literally, you could just do an effect that when something hits a dust cloud here, and all of a sudden, hey, guess what? There's a new Rubble mod. I mean, that's what ESO does. They have a little animation, but it's essentially building state 1, building state 2, and then an animation, a transition between the two. I mean, technically, while it's falling, you can run through it because it's already went from 1 to 2. So,
yeah.
I can tell chat definitely hates that idea. So
I think it's a
You
bad
have the
idea.
hardcore MMO crowd. Here.
I don't
This
think
is
it's
true.
a good idea to use it to monetize it at all. I think that would be a big distraction, regardless if it works.
Yeah.
The reason why I even brought it up is because I've asked this question to Steven, and I know I'm supposed to be ending the show, but these are good questions. The reason why I even brought it up is Steven has expressed his desire to make Ashes of Creation a franchise, not just the MMORPG.
Interesting.
Great idea. It's a fantastic idea. Not during your first release.
Yeah, focus on getting this MMO like good and rocking.
You got to keep your eye on the prize.
Right. Because I know one thing, the only thing that I would say right off the bat that I would be okay with earlier is like lore books and things of that nature.
But you're not using the same team. To do that,
you're definitely
right?
not using.
That's the distraction you could cause if you use develop in any way. All of a sudden, that becomes a focal. You're losing focus. If you do it outside, synergistic with other media, that's a great idea. Maybe something mobile, maybe lore books. That type of thing is great. But don't pull from the same team. You're gonna cripple yourself.
I know Steven's a big tabletop fan, so maybe he's gonna do something like a tabletop, like a actual board game type tabletop
That
edition.
would be awesome. Yeah, I'd buy that one.
I don't have any friends for that.
Let's start the Kickstarter. I'd do it. I'm kidding.
Let's start another Kickstarter.
Let's do it. The board game of Ashes. I'll do it.
Yeah, the sad part is other people have done that, and anyway. All right, we're not going to get on that. All right, guys, we've come to the end of our discussion. It was a good one tonight. I definitely feel like it was. So let's go around and let people know where they can find you. Let us start with our guest, Crowchat himself.
You can't find me. I don't exist on the internet.
He pushed that.
Fine. I'll say it. I'll prevent you guys from saying it. I'm a content creator on YouTube. You can find me on YouTube at Crowchat. Find me on Twitch at Crowchat. Twitch or Twitter as well at Crowchat, etc., etc. Real simple. Search my name. You'll find it.
Yeah. He's definitely a very enjoyable streamer to watch. I watch him, so there you go. And I don't watch a lot of streamers, so if I'm watching him, then he's fairly entertaining. So there you go. Shot. All right, Alpha Soul.
So you can find me in 3 main places right now. You can find me on Discord. I'm in the Hands of Fate channel and the Dungeon Crawler Network channel. Just message me there. You can also find me on Twitch. I've just gotten a channel up and running called the_alpha_soul. And same thing for YouTube. You can find me there. It's going to be Alpha Soul, but since I just started the channel, it's this long, weird name. Basically.
Yeah.
Just go and buy a domain. And then just link that for $12.99. Go buy a domain, and then they'll give you a one, regardless of whether or not you have 1 million subs or 1.
Oh, good. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, $12.99. Go buy yourself a domain, and then say, "Hey, link it." And there you go. So next week you'll be set. Storms.
All right, so you can find me in the Dungeon Crawler Network Discord channels, poking around in there, listening, watching. You can find me at Twitter. You could also find me at Digital Pepper Studios, working our new Space Arcade mobile game or the next holiday versions of our current games.
There you go. Nice. And you can follow me, Aggelos, on Twitter at AGGELOS_DCN. Of course, here on the Twitch channel, DCN, Dungeon Crawler Network. I'm all over the place. Twitch.tv/Dungeon Crawler Network, because that's where I stream things, including all of our shows. Because why not, I guess. And of course, if you're interested in checking out the guild for the Dungeon Crawler Network, you can check out our website, handsoffateaoc.com. You can find the links in the description of our show and find out all about us and what we do. So thank you so much for everyone for coming out. You guys were all amazing. You can follow everything we do over at dungeoncrawlernetwork.com. There you can find links to all of our social media, including Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. You can check out our Patreon program at patreon.com/dungeoncrawlernetwork if you want to help support the show. You can also do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes so people know that we are a real podcast, that we say real words, and sometimes they matter. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of From the Ashes, and we'll see you next time. See you later.